It's cool. Good morning. Welcome back from spring break. How much awesome? Who had an awesome spring break? Did y'all go on vacation together? What happened? Did you really? Okay, well. I always thought that was awesome. When I went to high school, there were a couple people who would we all went to Gulf Shores together. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I wish I had friends. So that's cool. It really is. It is weird. I often talk about this, how the concept of I wrote a thing and I'm standing on stage and I'm going to read it in front of my peers, that you live in an era in which you can do that. And that's awesome. And you work and you go to a high school that fosters that kind of thing. And I think that's wonderful. It's part of the reason I love coming back to Libertyville. In my era, though, that would have never happened to me, ever. I used to write for the school. I used to write poems in the school literary newspaper under somebody else's name. Not even somebody else's name. I made up a name just so no one could trace it back to me. I'd sign it, someone else's name. It's crazy. I just think it's great. So thanks for the young, jerk. Thank you for the student presenters that went. Can we have another round of applause for them? Sweet action. All right, who did not have a great spring break? One dude. What happened, bro? Yeah, you. It was awful? The worst spring break I ever had, which is still better than your best week of school. But what? Oh, really? What did you have to refinish the roof, or did your house flood? What happened? Dude, get out. Just go home. Get up and leave. Are you serious? It was the worst spring break ever. What'd you do? I don't know. I had to play all this Xbox all day. You played a lot. So why was it terrible? I had to play Xbox by myself. Me and 3 billion other Xbox users across the world all had to hang out together at the same time. Oh! Another generation of poets dies. I'm kidding. That's good. No, I'm sorry if that. I'm not trying to minimize your pain, man. Sorry if that was a hard thing for you. That's cool. Wow, it's good to alienate the audience early. Let's just do that. All right, if you're feeling good today, say yes. Yes. If you're feeling less than good, but you feel like it might get better, say yes. If you haven't said yes yet, say yes. Yes is a good word. I believe in the word yes. Also, there have been students today that have done and presented poems about their bodies, about their sexuality, and things like that. And I think it's wonderful that the space is safe enough for them to do so. My whole gender identity is kind of weird, but I like to use, as an adult, I like to use the term fancy boy, because I feel like that's me, quite fancy. A vest. It's mostly just to hide my gut. But yeah, the fancy boy. And I was writing this part of what I do with Chicago Slamworks is cultivate not only performances and work with young people, educate, preserve the history of slam poetry in Chicago, but we also work in what we call the Chicago Slamworks Ensemble Theater, which is where we take poetry, like you've been seeing today and like you're going to continue to see. We take that poetry and put it into real live theater spaces in plays. We did a play this past fall called Handsome Animals, and it was all about body and our body image and what that means to us. And so for Chicago thick-neck dudes who look and sound like me, that's some real tough concrete to get through. But at the end, I ended up with one of these poems. This is called Nail Polish. Once all the other boys had gone home, Stephanie Bloom held my hand in hers, still as an egg, stroking the black lacquer across my fingernails. I struggled just enough at first, feigning protest as the girls at the party giggled and climbed on top of me in restraint. Oh no! No! It was really dramatic. Anyway, to be 13 and brand new, To be 13 and looking for any excuse to see how these new bodies fit, how our skin hushes against another. In this new era of flesh, where no touch is insignificant, where holding Stephanie's hand was enough incentive to drop the masculinity I had only just learned to boast, to wrap around my new throat. And when it was done, I leaned back into this pile of bodies, careful not to smudge her work, and exhaled for the first time in a year. My mother came to pick me up, and she saw what had been done to me. And all she could think to do was insist that this nail polish be removed before my father saw. And for a moment, I stood against the bathroom sink, watching the reflection of my shimmering fingers run against the sides of my face. Beautiful. Next week, it's the same scene. New color scheme, though, pink with purple polka dots. My protest, this time less born of theater, not only because I am a winter, but because there is no hiding in pastels. In every implication, pink carries. It cannot be passed off as goth or punk or straight. And I could see it all over my parents' party guests when I walked in the door at curfew. The wives took turns bringing their voices up in octaves. Oh, that's quite a look. While my father and the other men took turns avoiding eye contact and staring at the floor. That better be gone before church in the morning, was all he said. And just before we piled into the car for Sunday Mass, I cracked open my mother's bottle of acetone. I rubbed my stinging fingers in attrition, like penance for all of this new beauty. That's a poem about nail polish. All right. Woo! It was weird, man. It was like, oh, let's. I was the dude who always had like five. I hung out with all the girls. You know what I'm talking about? You know, because dudes were just like, because I couldn't play basketball or anything that required running. I just couldn't do any of that. I was like, I just want to be in theater. I was a theater nerd, so I hung out with all girls, and they're like, let's put nail polish on you. And I'm like, no, that would be terrible if you all held my hand and... It was awful. Awful. Anyway, so there's that. And recently, I was in Arizona with my father watching baseball, and that was interesting for all of us. And and I'm going to soak my feet in the hot tub. And by the way, my toes, on fleek. Wonderful. Gorgeous shade. Get a pedicure. Be a man. Be a man, get a pedicure. But I go in there, and it's very interesting. My dad and I actually had that conversation about that poem. Very strange. Anyway, I brought another friend with me today. We're going to talk about all kinds of things that maybe make you feel uncomfortable, like nail polish on men's toes. Feel that. Enjoy it. Anyway, she's a writer. She's an educator. She is a wonderful activist and a great person, an important part of our community. She's also a terrible fantasy football player. Please put your hands together and welcome. This is Brittany Black Rose Capri.
He didn't even win our fantasy league this year, so I don't know why he's talking. You lost the money. Second still is lost. To the boys that couldn't like me in high school, but still managed to accidentally fall into my chest, screw you. 1, 5 years post-graduation on the division bus, captain won all the superlatives, Mr. Black Man that only had eyes for non-black women, but always saved a smile for me, tells me I changed after a thorough up and down of my thighs. And I am 16 again. All butterflies and 90s rom-com anticipation because I changed sounds too much like you're pretty now. Or I'm sorry for making you want to slit your wrist in a high school bathroom you thought was too disgusting to pee in, but that's not what he means. He means I'm capable of private consumption now, and I say no. I have tattoos, but I'm still the same chick. 2, girls like me don't glow up, don't swan in college, don't take down a ponytail and glasses and suddenly become prom queen. Girls like me still fat, still black and smart and crass mouth 3. When I was 16, I was so ugly I let my white friends call me nigger because at least they were calling me 4. I'm the same girl you all managed to touch once in the gym class or the pool or the dance when you thought nobody was looking 5. Later that same day, I opened a vanity bag that held every single note I passed in high school. Have you ever felt 1,000 paper cuts no one could see? Can 1,000 bloody paper cranes wish me beautiful? I'm still learning how to not hurt myself into self-love. 6, I am queen of the clapback. Patron saint of fat girls with too much mouth and even more everything. Duchess of depression, right honorable of cellulite and twerk. Professor Pop-Off, Elder Petty, Admiral of tendencies and anxiety. Captain can't save him, but I keep trying. Lady, if I take what's mine. Don of love me in public or screw off. Siren to lost cause rappers and light-skinned boys. Master of self-deprecation. High priestess of the pen and the mic. Counsels to shut a kid down. Server of shade in these hands. Chairman of the curve. Emperor of don't come for me. Lord if I didn't sin for you. Alpha of glad I never slept with you. Why would I want your title, boy, when I have all these on my own? 7, I'm no longer wasting myself on boys who apologize before they touch me.
Look at you, making people uncomfortable. I'm kidding. That's good. It's good now.
You were talking about painting your toenails. How do I make people uncomfortable?
I don't know. Who's uncomfortable with the idea that I paint my toenails?
I'm not uncomfortable with the
Couple of you?
idea
That's okay.
of
I'm just
men
saying.
painting their toenails. I'm more uncomfortable with the idea of like you and your feet. And
I have lovely, well-cultivated feet. They're excellent feet. And if I want to write poems about them, that's the great part, is I can write all that off. Because I am a writer. Welcome to Writers Week, where I teach you how to dodge the tax system by keeping receipts.
True, it was inspiration.
What is the weirdest thing you've ever written off as a writer?
I'm just getting into like the write-off thing.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right.
I've been pretty like, I mostly just write off all the Ubers that I take to
Word.
bars.
Word.
Because I hand out my business card.
Word.
So like I write out a lot of Ubers that are obviously me not going to do poetry shows. But I hand out my card and tell people I'm a poet, so I think it counts.
No, it does. And you can I can write off every book I buy.
True. Well, I mean, I know that. I teach, so that's cool, but like, I write off, like, I'll go out to lunch with another friend that's a writer, and then I'll be like, hey, let's write a haiku real quick on this napkin. Okay, cool, we write off
And
lunch.
boom, right off. That's why you want to go into the arts, because there is no
Tax
health
evasion.
insurance, but the tax breaks are good in that way. Anyway, so you and I both work with youth. We both work in the nonprofit sector of the world and have figured out how to be unhappy teenagers and turn that into a career.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good. Yeah.
basically.
Word.
All my writing is basically, like, just all the things that I didn't say to people in high school.
So what is it that got you writing?
So I actually started poetry when I was 8. I joined a hip hop theater collective when I was in 2nd grade because I just didn't get along with the other kids in my class, and so I stopped talking for like 3 months, but I did all my homework and I had good grades, and I was, but my teacher sent me to special ed because she didn't know how to deal with me, and all they ever asked me to do was to write and write and write, and so I wrote, and then one day I decided to speak because I wrote a poem and I wanted to share it. And so I've been writing poetry and performing poetry since I was 8. I started slamming when I was 14. It's basically been the bulk of my life.
So it was about the writing for you. It wasn't the stage first.
No, I didn't even know that stage was a thing until like somebody was like, "Hey, we have this assembly. You can read a poem there." But it was more so like I had something to say and I didn't know how to have the conversation, but I was able to write it down in a poem.
Oh, cool. Did you ever read a poem in front of your high school?
Not yet. I was just reached out to come back for like alumni day, which I don't actually know what that means, but I'm very excited. But now my high school didn't have a slam team when I was in high school, but they do now. So I've like been interacting with one of the teachers, and I met the slam team, and I'm probably gonna come back next year. But like,
Where'd you go to high school?
Von Steuben.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a nice school.
Yeah.
For a city school, it's a good school.
Yeah, but I mean, it was in high school there, so I hated it.
Well, of course. Well, but that's the thing. The point I'm making, right? The point I'm making is this. Do you think a world would have existed where you could have read poems about your feelings in front of the student body?
Yes, only because while people didn't like me in high school, most people were terrified of me. So they wouldn't have picked on me because I was exceptionally violent and crazy.
Ah, okay, see.
But do I think, like, as soon as I walked out of the room, would they have, like, said stuff about me? Of course, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
they would have been terrible, but never to my face because I wouldn't have allowed that. I was, like, the
Fair.
only, like, black girl that hung out with, like, all the people into metal, so most people they just didn't understand me.
All the other black girls at your high school were into metal?
No, I was the only black person who hung out with the metalheads.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
And so they were like, she's crazy.
Yeah, well, the metalheads roll deep together.
Yeah.
Like they
great.
pack in, you know, like Gazelle. We can explain this later.
Really?
Good. Are there any questions? Anything popping up in your brain before we keep reading poems and stuff? I could feel it, and it's okay.
They don't also, like, I won't say this, they don't have to be about poetry, because Anise got, like, he was asked, like, where he went shopping, like, what type of music he listened to. Like, those are much more interesting questions than about poems to me.
Where do you go shopping?
I am a Target connoisseur. Like, me and the, like, sales section of Target, it's like my best friend. And then I wear a lot of, like, local clothing companies. Like, I try and buy, like, locally as often as possible. Like, me, Target, Forever 21, it's my favorites. I am a huge Harry Potter fan, so I have 4 Harry Potter tattoos, one of which is the Death Eater. Yes.
Can someone explain Harry Potter to me? I don't get it. But no, I don't even, like, literally, all of my adult grown-up friends, people with jobs and cars and children, are like, what house are you? I don't know what you're talking about.
You'd be in Slytherin. Just answer Slytherin. It's easy.
Why would I be in Slytherin?
It's the same house I'm in.
Okay, word. Because I what?
He might be a squib.
See, and this is the thing. The nerds have turned against us because I spent my entire life trying not to make people think I'm a nerd.
Nah, dude.
And now the nerds have turned against us. Like, you don't know what house you're in? What a normal.
No.
I got called a muggle the other day.
No, you're not a muggle, you're a squib. And a squib is somebody in the magical community, so you're a nerd, but you can't actually practice magic, so you just sort of exist there and know about everything, but don't actually
So it's like when I was 19 going to hip hop shows, like,
yes,
I'm just the guy here.
Basically.
Hello, we're all friends. That's cool. You love it. You love it. You love it. Cool. What's up? What hip-hop do I listen to? You answer first, because then I'll steal one of your answers.
I mostly listen, like Kanye West is like my favorite. All right, okay, I take it.
Cool it.
Huh? I have Kanye poems, but they're not age appropriate, so I can't read them here.
Most of the stuff we have, we can't read.
You can find like the videos online, but the Kanye poems are not age appropriate. But I mostly listen to. I'm very pro Chicago. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world to me. So like everything I do. Common was all right when he started. He's like sort of fell off.
Put Common's B album.
But Chance the Rapper, Saba, Mick Jenkins, John Doe, Jamila, I mostly listen to like Chicago-based rappers.
Vic?
I listen to Vic sometimes, but he sort of scares me.
Word, okay. All that stuff that she said is what I listen to. No, I come from a different era, so I like, I used to listen to, not different era, I'm not old, I'm 32, I'm not that old. But like, for me, what was hot in the streets was, because I never really got into gangster rap so much, although I knew every word to, The Chronic, I knew every word to Snoop Dogg's first album, because I'm old. What? Illmatic, to some extent, but Kanye I listen to, but I also was really into Jurassic 5, The Roots, stuff like that. Someone just went, oh. The thing is that the stuff that was like daring and edgy now is the house band for The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And that's how you know you've gotten old. When the songs that you like are in car commercials, you're like, oh, there it is. What's up in the back?
I don't listen to it because I do like Kanye, but like as my I identify as a feminist, and as it grows stronger, Kanye becomes a little more and more difficult to handle.
It's true. It's true. Kanye's weird like that, though. Kanye can put out stuff that's absolutely brilliant, classic, right away, instant classic stuff, and he also puts out some.
But like my love for Kanye is that of an artist, as somebody that in this, ties back to what we're doing. None of Kanye's projects sound the same, and I respect an artist that grows with everything they do. And so I respect Kanye as a genius, as an artist. I don't necessarily agree with everything he does. Like, I would never wear his clothes because they look like post-apocalyptic homeless wear. But
On a good
But
day.
as an artist, I respect somebody that can always grow with everything they do. So like, I love Kanye as like, I like a lot of like musicians where I like their music, but I don't care about who they are as people. But like Kanye as a person is an artist that changes with every single thing he puts out, and I respect that. So I don't like Life of Pop. I don't listen to it, but I respect it.
You should listen to it. She just gave you a very thoughtful answer about why she doesn't listen to it, and you're like, nah, let me mansplain this real quick. What's up? Greatest album of all time.
All time?
You should.
Better than College Dropout. Didn't I know you're not a real Kanye fan?
Better than College Dropout.
Better than College Dropout.
Better than Late. Better than the Blueprint 3. Better than the White Album. Okay.
Whoever this guy is
Who
my
is this
favorite.
dude?
I don't know, but he keeps saying Illmatic, and I respect him.
Do you work for the label? Oh, okay. All right.
You gonna do a poem?
Why don't you do one more, and then I'll do one more. Then maybe we'll talk about like some other things. What time does this period end, please? 11:10. Right on time. Cool.
Okay. Hello, white people, or people of color who aren't black. Welcome to day one of the SPF seminar. Just to clarify, this is SPF standard. If you selected the gay, sassy black friend premium package, you're actually down the hall. Now back to business. After a brief discussion, we're gonna have 4 breakout sessions you can only attend to, so you have to prioritize. 1, navigating the urban jungle, AKA surviving the hood. 2, does bad mean bad, or does bad mean good? I know, African American vernacular is just so complicated. 3, intro to appropriation. And 4, is it racist? We're actually gonna be having 2 of those because it's just so popular. Down to business. Yes, I do speak for the entire female African American population and some international ones. And once you've acquired your sassy black friend, you can totally refer to us as your black friend, but not until then. As I'm looking around and I see some few skeptical faces, I want you to know I am qualified to teach this seminar, which brings us to our first buzzword, code switching. At the drop of the dime, I can be your ghetto friend that's always popping her lips and smacking her hips, and I did publish my first book at 25, and oui, je parle français, mais je besoin beaucoup d'aide. And if you want to clap back, I can clap back, but sometimes I just have to dial it down because being a multifaceted human being makes other people uncomfortable, and I still need this job. So some of you may be wondering why you actually need an SBF. Insert Rachel Dolezal joke here. Just kidding. Not really. Do you have burning questions about the black community that you would never dare say out loud unless you had a cocktail in your hand to blame it on? Trust your sassy black friend. Do you so desperately want to meet black men but don't know how to approach them without getting mugged or Tinder? Sassy black friend. Do you want to learn how to twerk? Actually, you're going to have to upgrade to our left cheek, right cheek premium package to find one of those. Do you want to say the N-word outside of not making eye contact with black people at rap concerts? Don't do that. Do you want to wear an I Can't Breathe shirt? Don't do that. Maybe you should just talk to us, like humans, or people, or something like that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's good. How does it feel to be my sassy black friend?
I love it.
You do love it.
How long do you want to talk about your feet?
You know. All right. Moving on. These are jokes. I have one black friend, and it's you. Congratulations. I'm kidding. These are jokes, friends. It's okay. That's the thing. Here's the thing about race, right? Especially as white people, like which most of the people in the room are, right? Am I wrong? Sorry, am I wrong? Did I lie? Okay. It is very important, listen to me, it's very important for, I think, in this day and age, for us to have conversations about race. And I think it's important to use art as a means or as maybe a stepping stone to having those conversations. The important thing is, though, just like you were saying in your poem, what I especially like is talk to us. Like, white people should maybe listen a little bit more. No? You just look, why are you smiling at me like that? Did I say the wrong thing?
No, I'm just very amused.
Very amused. Okay, great. This is getting strange. Now I'm gonna talk about boxing instead, because this is what's happening. It's weird for all of us. Yeah, this was a weird segue. We actually use art, and Brittany uses art a lot in her activism. She works with, co-founded Let Us Breathe. She works with, Black Lives Matter, works in all those kind of spaces, and uses art as an intro to those things. We also use art to process feelings and emotions and things like that. I use art, obviously, for that reason. My poetry specifically is kind of, in the earlier days, used to be more of like a release valve. We kind of let out steam. This is a poem about death and boxing. This is called Anointing the Hand. Often, when a fighter sees his own blood, the fight is over. A mere trickle off his nose, a slow knockout. He has begun his descent to the canvas, waving for no more. The pacifist and I are discussing the cuts on our hands. The origin of this missing skin, the red divots furrowing into her French toast. Hillary, with her master's degree and cardigan, calls the combat of foot and fist barbarism. Like some bastion of ill-guided masculinity, the last thing that separates man from beast. And she has a point. You'll see the dogs, puffed chest and head cocking side to side like a speed bag, teeth born and barking before the first punch is thrown. Sometimes you get beat. Sometimes the beatings come by flood and nameless. But even if you were the one found slumped in a canvas, in a pile on the barroom floor, even if your face is cabbage swollen and bleeding like a colander, you will know the walk home. You'll know how the moonlight looks when you're no longer afraid of anything. Your body pulled into mortality's mouth and spat out smiling. This is where power lives, in the cocoon of the gut. Where refusing to swing back is the only wound that will not close. When I was 9, there's the bigger boy, and I'm frozen. He's pressing me into the snow. I'm locking eyes with the bystanders, just waiting for someone to save me. The bully in the hallway punching faggot into the valley between my shoulders. How I stumbled into class and breathed shallow against my desk all day. The 2 men, with their beer breath and pistols, whom I let pin my arms and leave me in the alley behind my house. And Hillary doesn't know these stories. She doesn't know that sometimes pacifism is just another word for having the luxury of options, means soft, means the first crack in one's integrity before it splinters beyond reassembly. She couldn't possibly know that I lost my job this week, that my friend is dying, that my last $200 is a round trip to Texas to say goodbye, that there is no ceremony, no standing eights, no maybe she'll pull through to any of this, powerless like that. I'm a boy in a well this morning. I'm a sedan on blocks. My second knuckles are wide open match heads with every hook and cross, and I keep throwing. There's this rusty Pollock on the torso of my heavy bag, and I keep throwing because until further notice, my universe is contained in this basement, in the heavy bag, in my busted shins. This blood is my own, and no one can take away from me what I have given to myself. The sacrament of spilling, the iron-anointed last rites of man. Sometimes, I just want to feel like something is within my grasp, and I'm capable of making it crumble. Thank you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the way that you use art in your work is in education and activism and things of that nature? I think that's an important thing to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time teaching artist and professional writer. I work primarily at an organization called Young Chicago Authors, which is another nonprofit like Chicago Slam Works. I teach in 4 different high schools. I teach in Walter Payton, Northside College Prep, Lane Tech, and I also teach in the high school in the Juvenile Detention Center. So I work with incarcerated youth. And I use, like I said, I am co-founder of Let Us Breathe Collective. I partner with BYP 100, part of the Black Lives Matter movement, and often I use my writing, my position in classrooms to talk about the political climate that's happening not only in the city but globally, because I find that people, not just students, but people in general, are more sincere, authentic. It's easier to have harder conversations when they're able to write it down, because when you strike up a conversation with somebody about politics, about race, about religion, about things, things get muddled in translation. Opinions and feelings and hurt always exist, and often people can access writing with less bias.
Word. Thanks for, good. That was good. No, it was clean. That was a nice, like, clean rap. You're like, and bias, blackout button. Got it. Cool. Are there any questions that have come up about anything that we've created or said or done? Where you at? Oh, what's up?
Do you think black people can be racist towards white people?
Ooh, it's getting real in here.
Racist, no, because I think racism is a sign of systematic power. Are black people prejudiced to white people? All the time, yes. Lots of my family. But racism is something that comes with systematic power, and I don't think most disenfranchised people, not just black people, have that. The same way I don't think women can be sexist to men, but I do think women apply double standards to men and use sexism as like a tool against men. Yes?
That's a good question. Her question was, what open mic nights are available to students and teens, people that want to kind of get involved in the kind of thing that we do?
So Young Chicago Authors on Tuesdays has the longest running youth open mic that's located in Wicker Park in Chicago. All the information I know is from about Chicago, so I will apologize for that.
Yeah.
It's at 6 p.m. There's a writing workshop, there's the open mic, and then there's a feature. Urban Sandbox, which is another partnership, they have an open mic that is, it's like once a month, though?
Yeah, it's third Thursdays, I believe.
Thursdays.
Yeah.
These can all be found on Twitter. And then I'm partnered with Chance the Rapper for another youth open mic called Open Mic, MIKE, which is for one of our mentors that passed, and that happens once a month. It doesn't have a set date. It just sort of depends on when Chance is touring. And if you want to find out information about that, you can find it through his Twitter or Open Mic Chicago, which is that Twitter. And you have to bring your high school ID. No adults are allowed in the space. It is only youth-based unless you're on staff. So if you like and I mostly say that to like teachers, if you like take a field trip to there, we will not let you in. But those are like the three big ones that I know.
Yeah. There are a lot of great opportunities for young writers in Chicago. There are a lot of great opportunities for writers in Chicago. The hard part, I guess, is finding them out this way, right? Is what I keep hearing. Maybe I'm wrong. But what I keep hearing from students that I work with when I was just at Stevenson and Lincolnwood and a bunch of other schools. And a lot of these schools are all telling me like they're looking for resources that are outside of the city. So if you know of any, like let me know, please, and we could share that information with people if you know of any opportunities. But most of the stuff we have is all in the city. Any questions? I know this got a little whatever it got. Hi. Biggest source of inspiration outside of activism, obviously.
So I'm the oldest of 9 kids. And
real?
then yes.
I didn't know that.
And then the next 4 after me all just had kids. So I have 4 nieces that are all like 2 years old because they were all born 2 months apart. So a lot of my writing is conversations I didn't have with my brothers and sisters, like lessons that I learned in high school and college, and lessons that I don't want them to repeat. So a lot of my writing is like writings for my sisters, writings for my brothers, conversations that are like awkward to have with your family, but still that you should like have with your family.
I tend to use narrative a lot. I like to tell stories, and I write, we were talking about this earlier as well. I like to write poems, and I like to write prose, and I write sketch, and I write plays. I do all of those things. I'm a writer all the way around. I don't just write poetry. But oftentimes poetry is the best avenue for a thought. Sometimes it's sketch or whatever it is. So for me, I like to take the stories that I want to preserve. My memory is not great. So when I have a memory I can hang on to, I do what I can to kind of encase it in carbonite or whatever. See that nerd reference? Got it. Yeah, so I tend to write a lot of narratives. But generally, when you're first starting to write, you kind of do this thing, and maybe you disagree. But when I first started to write, it was just like, I'm inspired. Watch me sit down and write. And then you become a writer, and you're like, it's like work. This sucks. So now I often use the line that I used to feel something and then write through it. And now I just write until I feel something. See that? You can use that. You can tweet it. Hashtag write until you feel something.
Right.
Yeah.
I also, sort of along the lines of what Baz is saying, when I am not necessarily feeling writing poems, I rewrite Greek tragedies in the form of 1-minute plays. So I take, I saw somebody make a face like, what? There's this thing called the 1 Minute Play Festival, and gets 60 playwrights to come together, and we write 1 minute plays, and then a director casts a bunch of actors, and they literally act out these plays in a minute in sections. It's really fun, but that only happens once a year, so I rewrite Greek tragedies and most mythology in the form of 1 minute plays. Like, how would I sum up? It's like the Spark Notes of Greek tragedy meeting, like, in theater. Like, how do I sum up these, like, pivotal things that are constantly taught in an interesting way, in a more modern way?
That's a fun prompt. Anything else? Yeah, what's up? Have I ever tried to rap or make music? I make music all the time. That's actually how I ended up doing poetry. I was a songwriter. So I was a singer-songwriter. In the early 2000s, before most of you were born, there was this thing called a coffee shop. And there were sad boys with acoustic guitars all over every sad coffee shop. Who's saying yep? Who is that? Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's actually how I came about. But I play 4 different instruments. I was a classically trained singer and a songwriter. I've never really tried to rap. I can rap because I have a sense of rhythm and I know how words are. But I've never tried to like be a rapper or anything like that. Do you rap?
No, all my friends rap, so I hate it.
Yeah. So I hate.
I refuse
hate.
to rap because all my friends are rappers.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No.
Scratching your eye? No? Okay. What time? 10? Oh. So we got a couple of some minutes. What's up? Yeah, what's up?
What do you find scarier, a snake or a scorpion?
I'm actually very fond of snakes.
Ooh,
very fond of snakes. So I'm going to choose a scorpion because I've never actually seen one because I don't believe in nature. I don't go out into nature.
Yeah, we're city kids.
Because there's things like scorpions in nature. But I have owned snakes. I obviously have a snake tattooed to me, so, I'm about that.
If we could round up all of the snakes in the world and kill them all at once,
no,
that would be
Okay,
my
he's not
Super
a-
Bowl.
he's not a Slytherin
That would be
anymore.
my
He's a
Super Bowl.
Hufflepuff.
If we could just kill all the snakes, all the possum,
You're
all the
terrible.
bats. I'm not into it. I'm not into it. Death to snakes, all of them. Yes.
Oh.
Oh no, wait. Yes. You.
I realize that it's a real thing, as I have to see that there are trees and stuff. But like, if I go outside, one of my friends is like, hey, Brittany, like, let's go hiking or camping or
Yeah,
sit in the grass. I'm like,
Yeah, no.
you're not my real friend because you asked me to do that.
Right. I mean, forests and trees and beaches are great and all. I prefer like concrete and glass.
No, I
That's
like
just me.
beaches in the city.
Right, yeah, because there's concrete near them. Yeah, what's up, dude? I do have Twitter, but you can't know it.
I do have a Twitter and it's public.
You could follow us, though, at Chicago Slam and find out about all kinds of stuff happening in the world. And then if you were to do investigation, you could maybe discover me. I'm not going to give you my Twitter because there are adult things, not gross, like untoward, but adult, like
What?
cursing, which you don't know anything about and you haven't heard those words yet. So I can't tell you about them.
My Twitter is open to all my students, so it's at.
Ah, come on, Brittany.
It is. Oh, I'm 27. My Twitter's open. At boomboxed. That's ed_. But like, I obviously curse.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm just told not
I
to
think
do that.
there's a
Yeah.
hand back here.
What is the biggest trigger that makes me write?
Trigger that makes me write.
Yeah, but a thing that draws you, or I think that pushes you toward page,
Anger.
Anger?
Somebody upsets me, and I don't. Yeah, anger.
Yeah. It's usually best to like write when you're really angry or really happy. And I wish that the in between is like called being a writer.
It's boring.
When you got to sit down and be bored and fight through it. Thanks, y'all. You've been a good audience. Appreciate it.